Hello everyone, this is Dustin the Blind Minnesotan. Today we're going to talk about the best neighborhoods for blind and visually impaired people to live in the city of Minneapolis. This is just my opinion, and my opinion's not always the right opinion. So just do some of your research, go digging on your own, and make your own opinion. And the only way to know if a neighborhood's good for you is if you go to downtown, hop on a bus that goes into that neighborhood that you want to live in, ride that city bus through that neighborhood, and bring a sighted person with you to explain to you what is happening or what buildings are around you, what kind of businesses are around you when you're going on that bus. And you take the bus all the way until the bus route ends. You get off the bus. You kind of look around the neighborhood where the bus route ends, and then you bring a sighted person with you, so then they can look with you and say, this is how this building looks over here, or oh no, that's how this building looks like over here. And then so then you get information from them, and then you know what neighborhood you like the best. We know as disabled people, our income is very limited. And a lot of us still live with our parents because Social Security isn't enough for a lot of disabled people of any type to be able to live by themselves. But some of us who work full-time jobs and don't need Social Security, ones who work for the federal government, ones who work for the state of Minnesota, ones who work for State Service for the Blind, because they work for State Service for the Blind, because they work for the state of Minnesota, because they work for the federal government, or because they work for Hennepin County, Ramsey County, or Anoka County, they have stable jobs as disabled people. But someone like me who's visually impaired that lives in Columbia Heights, every time I try to apply for a state job, a county job, or all that stuff, they turn me down because they say I don't have enough experience. So me as a disabled person, I have to go into private industry because the private industry is the only person willing to give me a chance. And it's just not any in any industry. The only people who are really willing to give me a chance as a disabled person are companies like Walmart, Target, Aldi's, Cub Foods. Those, and they just put me on a cash register and say, as long as you can see the numbers and we get no complaints from you, that's what we're going to have you do. Or they have me stack shelves, or they have me run the fitting room. So there's not a lot of if you're disabled and you can't get into a state, a county, or a federal job, then you don't have a lot of stability. And because you don't have a lot of stability, it's not good for you to go live by yourself in an apartment. I tried that. I moved to downtown Minneapolis. I lived in the downtown West neighborhood. I was paying $9.50 a month in rent. I was working at the Mall of America. I was bringing home $1,500 a month. So 95% of my money went to rent. But then I had $400 to $500 a month. I can save. I can blow on going on vacation. I could go to high-end restaurants because I was paying $9.50 a month in rent. And because I don't have a car, I didn't have to pay for a parking spot because in downtown, a parking spot will cost you $250 a month. So I wasn't paying for a parking spot, and I didn't have to pay $150 a month for a dog fee. So because I'm visually impaired, I can't drive, I was only paying $9.50 a month for the room and whatever bills on top of that I had for trash, electricity, water. So because I was working full time, I could afford $9.50 a month. But after I got bored at the Mall of America and I went to DCM Services, the debt collecting agency, I got laid off. And then I was like, then Social Security took 3 months to kick back in. And during those 3 months, I used my savings to pay my rent. And I went to go live with my mom in Florida for a little bit. And because she would let me use my savings to pay my rent, and then she wouldn't charge me to stay down with her in Fort Myers, Florida. So I tried it, did not like it, because as a disabled person, they'll lay you off in private industry if you go too slow. They'll lay you off if they don't like your personality, or they don't want to buy you accessibility tools. So you as a disabled person working in private industry, so many bad things can happen to you. And so that's why if you're going to work as a disabled person, if you're going to work in private industry, you want to stay living with your parents, because your parents are more people in your village that can help you out. Now I came back to Minnesota, and my mom's a snowbird, so she goes back and forth between Florida and here. And now I live with her in her condo. Be lucky she's gone half the year, so I pretty much get the whole condo to myself for half the year, and I only have to share it 3 months a year pretty much. And I pay her rent for my room, and I help her keep the place up. And then I'm applying for jobs, and I'm living on Social Security again, and I'm making this podcast to help other people with disabilities. So my life is kind of not like stable, but hey, at least with my mom's help, I have a roof over my head. So yay, go being disabled, woohoo. So when I lived in downtown but a year and 2 months. And if you're one of those disabled people who actually have like a county, a state, or federal job where they're just not going to lay you off because they feel like it, these are some good neighborhoods that are affordable and accessible in Minneapolis that you should look into. The first neighborhood is the Uptown neighborhood, and that's in southwest Minneapolis. So when you go to if you don't have a car, that neighborhood is dirt cheap, because you can find a really nice apartment studio size space to a 1-bedroom space anywhere between $750 a month to $1,200 a month in the Uptown neighborhood in southwest Minneapolis. And the reason that is because some of the buildings in that neighborhood are so old, they were invented and built before cars even existed. So the rent's so cheap for the space you get because there's nowhere to park your car. And you have to pay a ramp, a monthly fee to be able to park your car. So when you're in Uptown, there's 1 or 2 ramps in Uptown where you can pay to park your car and have and pay a $200 to $300 monthly fee to have your car there and park it there monthly. But if you're blind and visually impaired like me and you don't have a car and you walk and take bus everywhere, living in a building that doesn't have a parking lot and then paying $750 to $1,200 for a place is pretty good. Because I am a single man, I would probably live in a studio for about $750 a month, because a studio is cheaper than a 1-bedroom, because a studio is about 550 square feet, while 1-bedroom is 1,500 square feet. So a studio is half the size of a 1-bedroom. So that's why a studio will be about $750 to maybe $850 if you want a luxury one in the Uptown neighborhood, if the building does not have parking. And then because I'm visually impaired, I can't drive, I can live in a building that doesn't have parking, and I can have cheaper rent than another disabled person who relies on a car. And the good thing about the Uptown neighborhood is it has public transportation that will take you to the shopping mall in St. Louis Park and the shopping mall in Edina. So you can have like not dirt cheap, but you can have, if you don't have a car, you can have like affordable rents in Uptown. And then you can take the bus to the shopping mall in St. Louis Park or to the Southdale shopping mall in Edina, and you can have access to all the stores and all the retail jobs in Edina and St. Louis Park. Plus, those buses that go to those two cities through Uptown and Southwest Minneapolis, they run from 6:30 a.m. to like 11:30 p.m. and they come every half an hour. So if like you miss one, you just have to wait for half an hour and another one will come and pick you up. And then Uptown has a Cub Foods, has a Whole Foods, has a Trader Joe's, it has an Aldi's, and it has like all the major food chains. So if like you want groceries and stuff, it's only going to be like a 10-minute bus ride away, like one of the major stores. And don't forget that they also have bodegas, the Uptown neighborhood. So if like you don't want to go to a major store, every other corner or every other block in Uptown has a bodega. So a bodega is like a ma and pa like grocery store. And a bodega is different than a co-op. A co-op is different than a bodega. A co-op is still a grocery store, but a co-op is owned by multiple people, and they each have enough shares in the business where all those people own it. Like my friend Trina, she has a co-op membership to the one by Matthews Park in South Minneapolis. And that co-op, because she owns shares and she pays a membership, once a year they have a meeting where all the paying members can get together and they discuss, okay, this is the store's profits, this is what we did, do we all agree, do we want to change things, or you know what I mean? So it's almost like association like meeting, and you guys all work together to change the destiny of the store. And you can only shop at a co-op if you pay a membership. So and then the co-op members like elect a board, and that board runs the store. So like a co-op is like kind of like going to a mini Sam's Club or Costco. So Uptown has a lot of co-ops, and they have a lot of bodegas. So bodegas like Jimmy's Groceries or Timmy's popcorn and food, or Timmy's tobacco and food. So that would be, if they have so much groceries, you can consider that a mom and pop grocery store. But for example, the one by my house is called East Side Co-op. And so to shop there, you have to be like a member. So they kind of give you a hint by saying co-op. And a co-op is normally, when you live in like the Uptown neighborhood, is normally a better place to shop than a mom and pop grocery store, if you don't want to go like to Cubs or Whole Foods or Trader Joe's. So, and the good thing is, so Uptown has a lot of grocery stores. They have a Walgreens for your meds. They have a CVS for your meds. They have everything you kind of want there to keep you, everything you need to stay alive is pretty much in that neighborhood. And then if like you want to go shopping at like Nordstrom Rack, Nordstrom, the Apple Store, Runnings, you want to go shopping at Sierra or whatever, you can hop on a bus and you can go to St. Louis Park to do some shopping, or you can go to Edina and do some shopping. because they don't have those kind of stores in Uptown. You have to go to St. Louis Park or you have to go to Edina. But if like you live in the Uptown neighborhood in Southwest Minneapolis, you have all that like only a 10-minute bus ride away. And Southwest Minneapolis, the Uptown neighborhood, they're building a new apartments there all the time because these big developers are buying out all the single-family homes that neighborhood has and bulldozing them down. And they're putting all these new apartments in. So the good thing about the new apartments are they have underground parking. So if like you pretend if like you're a visually impaired man or a blind man or a man in a wheelchair and your spouse actually drives, you can live in Uptown and take all the buses and walk in the neighborhoods and to get everything you need or even to work. And your spouse can still have an area where they can park their car. But living in a newer building in Uptown is going to cost more than living in an older building in Uptown that doesn't come with parking. And some of the older buildings in Uptown, they will partner up with a parking ramp that's in Uptown. And then if you sign a lease with the building saying, hey, I'm agreeing to for the parking ramp, they'll give you a discount with the parking ramp provider because of the contracts. So Uptown is and it's my favorite part of Minneapolis. When I lived in downtown Minneapolis in the LaSalle Apartments building, I did have a Whole Foods, a Trader Joe's, or Lunds and Barley's in downtown, or Target. I call it the lame Target because the Target in downtown is the worst Target of all Minnesota, in my opinion. Because it's so small, it doesn't have like the food options or the store options like a regular Target does, in my opinion. You might think that's the best Target in the universe. But so I used to go to Uptown to shop, or I used to go to Longfellow to shop, or I used to go into North Minneapolis to shop. But Uptown was my favorite place to take the bus to shop because it had like all these mom and pop businesses. It had the Cubs, it had the Whole Foods, it had the Trader Joe's, it had the Aldi's. And then I could, if I wanted to, it had the chain of lakes there. So I can go to Lake Calhoun. I can go to Lake Minnetrista. I can go to all those chain of lakes there. And then go walking around the lakes, or I can continue on that bus and go to St. Louis Park or Edina. You know what I mean? Because once you get into Uptown, you can get off, the bus ends at Uptown, and then you have to hop on another bus, the one that goes to Edina or the one that goes into St. Louis Park. So then, I would take the bus down there. Sometimes I'd go shopping in St. Louis Park. Sometimes I'd go shopping in Edina because at that time I was working at the Mall of America. I could technically go to the Mall of America on my day off and do all my shopping there. But, when like you work one place every single day, you don't want to go there on your day off. So I would go to Edina or St. Louis Park to do a lot of my shopping. And then I would hang out in Uptown. And then I loved Uptown. If I'm going to say Uptown is a more, minus the major grocery store chains, it's a more mom and pop like store area. And the Uptown, during the summer, Uptown, another negative, is Uptown gets very, very crowded. Because everyone from St. Louis Park, Edina, is like, let's go to Uptown and walk around the lakes. And they drive all the Uptown, and Uptown barely has parking for the residents that live there. And they're taking up the few parking that is there, and the residents are trying to compete with the visitors over the parking because Uptown does not have enough parking ramps for everyone who wants to drive and visit the city. So sometimes in the summer when I'm walking around Uptown is like so packed with cars. It feels like you're a fish, you're like like a can of meat of sardines in a sardine can, where you're squished and you feel like, or like you're in like the Star Wars part when they're in the trash compactor and they started to squish them in that little room, and the only thing that saved them was because R2D2 turned off the thing, and then there's like a little broom stuck in to show you how tight the room is. That's how it feels like in Uptown during the summer. It's like when the cars come and all the visitors come because there's not parking, and the people park in the road, and the roads are small and narrow already. It feels like they're squeezing you. But in the winter, when it's not so friendly and the lakes are not such a good place to hang out, and that's be lucky 6 to 8 months of the year, the Uptown neighborhood kind of disappears, the busyness of it, because it still gets packed because everyone with cars is trying to figure out where to park their car, where do they store it, and all that stuff, because there's still not enough parking ramps for everyone. But if you don't drive, you don't have to worry about the tight parking. You don't have to worry about the people fighting over parking, and you can just walk out of your house, walk to the bus stop, get on a bus that you need, and boom, and be somewhere in 10 minutes or less. Because if you go to your neighborhood bodega or to your neighborhood co-op, you don't have to go that far, because neighborhood co-ops and neighborhood bodegas it feels like an Uptown, like on every block. And then Uptown has like fast food places, like Five Guys, a Pizza Hut, Papa Murphy's, Jimmy John's, and all those major fast food restaurants. The only thing that Uptown's really lacking is major stores like a Nordstrom Rack or Sierra or Burlington Coat Factory. But if you do live in Uptown, you can there's also a road called Lake Street. And Lake Street is a major road that will take you from southwest Minneapolis to southeast Minneapolis. And then Lake Street goes over the Mississippi River and takes you into downtown St. Paul. So Lake Street, you don't drive, southwest Minneapolis, you can get access to Lake Street. And then if you really wanted to, you can walk down from southwest Minneapolis through all the way to southeast Minneapolis and all the way to St. Paul. It's a long walk, and it's a nice long bike ride, but you're still able to do it. And it's nice because you can easily get there because it's all sidewalk. Lake Street's all sidewalk and stuff. And there's also a bus that runs down Lake Street. Because when I visit my cousin from Columbia Heights, I normally take the 11 that goes from Columbia Heights all the way to southwest Minneapolis. It's in a neighborhood between Uptown and her neighborhood. And then I get off on Lake Street, and then I take the bus down Lake Street all the way to her apartment in southeast Minneapolis. And then I get off and I walk to her apartment. So it's a nice, southwest Minneapolis is a nice area. Go towards Uptown if you're disabled as much as possible, and you can get cheap rents if you can afford it by yourself. Because like $750 to $850 a month is doable off Social Security. So if you're living off Social Security, whatever, you don't want to live with your parents, having rent in Uptown in a very basic apartment that $750 a month does not come with parking or whatever, it's doable on Social Security. But the only negative about those older apartments are a lot of them don't come with microwaves. So then you have to go to Walmart. You can do that or Target. You can do that just by going down to St. Louis Park or Edina, Southdale, and you just have to buy yourself a cheap, not cheap, but you know, get what I'm saying, like $150 microwave to $200 microwave. It depends on how many features and how well and how big you want the microwave is. Because when I lived in downtown LaSalle apartments, I didn't have a microwave with my unit because my unit in downtown was considered a low-end unit. So what happened, because $950 is cheap for downtown Minneapolis. And then my mom and my stepdad, Ray, end up buying me a microwave from Walmart, for the Bloomington Walmart. We took the bus down to the Bloomington Walmart, the D bus, and then we came back with a microwave and we put it in my unit. And that's how I got my couch and all that, was because of my mom. And then, another neighborhood I really like in downtown Minneapolis is the North Loop neighborhood. The North Loop neighborhood is also called the Warehouse District in Minneapolis. And the neighborhood's kind of split into two. If you're by Target Center, that area is called the Warehouse District. If you're over by Target Center. If you're over by Washington Avenue / the Mississippi River, you're technically in North Loop. It's kind of weird because people don't really know where the North Loop neighborhood ends and where the Warehouse District begins. And that's a good neighborhood, is because the Target Center there has huge parking ramps, massive parking ramps. And you can pay, if you live in the Warehouse District neighborhood or North Loop, you can pay monthly fees to park your car there. So you have, in the North Loop neighborhood / the Warehouse District neighborhood, you have plenty of parking. Plenty of parking, because all those ramps from the Target Center event place and the Target Field. Don't forget Target Field. There's Target Center and there's Target Field. Both of them are in the North Loop / the Warehouse District neighborhood in northern downtown Minneapolis. And though both event centers have massive parking ramps. I mean, when I used to walk, it used to be, that neighborhood was a block away from me when I lived in downtown West. I'm going to tell you, their parking ramps are so massive. Their parking ramps could have been a mini skyscraper. So, but the negative about the North Loop / the Warehouse District is it's like uptown. There's barely no parking on the street. It's hard to find parking. Definitely if you live in an older building. Because when they built that neighborhood, it was at a time when people didn't really have cars. Because when downtown Minneapolis was first built, everyone walked, or they took a streetcar, or they took a city bus. So when they built that, when they built that neighborhood, they didn't really think about some of the older buildings, we're going to have cars in the future. And they built warehouses in that neighborhood because when the train used to come from Chicago, it used to go over the Stone Arch Bridge through that neighborhood, all the way through North Minneapolis and all the way to St. Cloud, where then it goes to Alexandria, and then it goes to Fargo, North Dakota, then it goes through North Dakota to wherever it goes out west. So then what they did is they built a bunch of warehouses in that neighborhood too, and then so people could live in the Warehouse District / North Loop, walk to work at the warehouses, and then walk to or take a streetcar or whatever to everywhere else they need in the city. So, but after Chicago stole all our businesses and they moved to Chicago, they turned the old warehouses into luxury apartments. But the good thing is the new apartments in the North Loop / warehouse district from the outside, they look like who would want to live here. It's just an old warehouse. But when you walk into them, they're like, holy crap, these are so luxury, they're worth living here. And then what they did with those, they put parking underneath the warehouse building. So if you live in the newer apartments in the North Loop / warehouse district, the ones that were built into the old warehouses, they have, a lot of those have underground parking, but it's super expensive because you're paying premium rent because you're next to Target Field and you're next to Target Center. But if you can't afford the underground premium parking, it's cheaper just to go to the Target Field or the Target Center parking ramps and pay for a membership to park there instead of paying your landlord to park underneath the building. But some of the cheaper units up in the Northeast / warehouse district neighborhood, you can get a cheap unit there, like a studio, for $750 a month to $850 a month. Because I looked over there after I got my crap together with the downtown incident. And I'm going to say, but they have access to no parking at all. And it's like when you leave your building, you're right on the sidewalk, and then boom, there's the street. And there you don't even get a green space, a fountain, a rock pit, nothing. The newer buildings, at least when you leave, like the ones that they put in the old warehouses, at least you have a patios and a rock pit, then the sidewalk, and then the street. So at least the newer buildings, you get a rock pit between your building and the sidewalk. But the older buildings that are cheap, you don't get even a rock pit. You just get your door, then sidewalk. But the good thing about the North Loop is if you're on disability, there's actually units up there for you to actually afford. But if you're disabled and you need a car, just go to Target Center or Target Field and rent a spot out of their ramps because it's totally worth it. It's plenty of parking. Their parking ramp is as big as a small skyscraper. So there's plenty of parking for everyone in that neighborhood. And that neighborhood is full of bars and bars and bars and bars and bars and clubs and high-end rich millennial restaurants like Crisp and Green. Crisp and Green is a salad place, so they only sell things that are healthy like salads. And Crisp and Green is a high-end place. They have the Red Cow, they have the Red Rabbit, they have Nilo, Nolo, Nalo, or whatever. My friend Trina likes going there. It's in the North Loop / warehouse district, and there they sell organic burgers, organic spaghetti, veggie burgers, very high-end neighborhood. If you're going to live in downtown Minneapolis, if you don't want to live in South Minneapolis, you don't want to live in downtown, but you still want to kind of live in have downtown feel or community feeling, the North Loop / the warehouse district is perfect. And then if you want to, you can but the only negative about that neighborhood is there's not really that much grocery stores, because when they're building that neighborhood, they did it before COVID. So they thought everyone would come to Target Field and Target Center to kind of eat and party and go to events, support all the restaurants around the stadium, and then go home, and then the people who lived in those apartments would actually work at the restaurant and stadium. But that did not turn out as planned because now COVID, people don't want to turn to downtown. So when they built that neighborhood, they were not really thinking about, we should have grocery stores or whatever. So when you live in that neighborhood, to get groceries, you have you have technically three choices. Four. You can walk down to Washington Avenue, go shopping at Whole Foods, or you have to leave your neighborhood and go south, go into downtown West where I lived, and go shopping at Lunds and Barley's. Or you have to go to Washington Avenue, take a bus that goes all the way down Washington Avenue to go shopping at Trader Joe's that's in the south part of downtown. Or what you have to do is you have to take a bus, like the D bus, that goes through that neighborhood, that goes from Brooklyn Center through that neighborhood and then into downtown, then through Richfield, then through Bloomington to the Mall of America. Or you have to take that D bus and you have to go into North Minneapolis and you have to get off by Merlin's Liquors. And then you have to cross the road to go to that Cubs. And if you don't want to shop in North Minneapolis, you have to go through downtown on the D bus and go all the way down to like Bloomington and shop at the Bloomington Walmart. And then you have to go all the way back up. So the North Loop neighborhood / the Warehouse District neighborhood does not there's plenty of bars and restaurants and entertainment things, but there's no really good place for you to go get groceries unless you want to eat. If you want to survive by eating out every night, no big deal. But if you're low income like me and you need to kind of budget yourself, you don't have that money to just hop from place to place to place and go to eat every night. So if you drive, that's not an issue because you can just go drive to a place, load up your car, drive home, park in front of your building, load up your apartment, and then drive your car to the parking ramp and park your car. But because I have to take the city bus everywhere, I want more convenience than that. But the good thing is if you also drive to go get your groceries, the Whole Foods on Washington Avenue, if you're a customer, you can park underneath Whole Foods for free. And the Target in downtown, the shitty Target I like to call it, they also have a parking ramp underneath their Target where customers can park for free if you buy over so much worth of groceries at Target. Because the reason why I hate the Target downtown is it's built more for people who are going there, buying snacks for their lunch break and coming back to the office. It's kind of like a lot of people in the suburbs would call it like Target to go or Amazon to go or Amazon Fresh to go, that kind of concept. So you can get blueberries there, you can get strawberries there, you can get, but the issue is they only have one tiny shelf of blueberries or one tiny shelf, but if you go to Target in South Minneapolis or North Minneapolis or whatever, instead of having one little tiny shelf, they'll have 5 shelves of blueberries or 5 shelves of strawberries or 5 shelves, So when I was living in downtown, I would go to that Target if I want to buy things like a vacuum cleaner, a microwave, that kind of stuff, or when I bought totes to help me move. I would walk from my LaSalle Plaza / LaSalle apartment building, and then I would walk down the street, and then I would go shopping at that Target on Nicollet, and then that sucky Target, the one that's 2 levels, and then I would walk back home carrying whatever I bought, and then I'll go up into my apartment or whatever. But when I wanted food, I would normally leave downtown with my shopping cart, and I would buy whatever kind of food that I want or that I need. And also, the good thing about the North Loop neighborhood is that in the Warehouse District neighborhood is that if you're a U of M student, getting to the U of M, University of Minnesota, is perfect because you can walk to, there's the blue line train and the green line train both go into that neighborhood because it ends at Target Field. And then you can walk there, you can hop on the green line train, and it'll just, in a 15-minute train ride, it'll take you right into the heart of the University of Minnesota campus. Perfect. And then you can party with your friends in the weekend and North Loop or whatever, and then you can take the train to go to class. So it's a perfect neighborhood for those kind of students. But for a young person like me who's 27 and try to build their life and try to start a family and start any dating, it wasn't a good neighborhood for me because I couldn't drive to my places. And I didn't have the money to pay for parking that I didn't need. And the hard part about living in that neighborhood is if you have family that wants to come visit you, they always have to pay to park to come see you. So that's why when I lived in downtown, I would always bus to like Brooklyn Park, Brooklyn Center, Edina, Bloomington, or whatever, and meet up with my family out there. Because if I met up with my family out in the suburbs, you mean they could park for free and they only have to pay for the food they're eating. So, yeah, it took a lot of time on my part, 45 minutes out, then 45 minutes back in. Well, for them, that would only be a 10-minute drive. But I did that, so then I'm saving them $20 to $30 just in parking. So it was worth it because I was paying for them to have discount parking with my time, because free is better than paying. The other neighborhood I like about downtown Minneapolis is called the Northeast neighborhood and the Southeast neighborhood. So Minneapolis has a little like tail. So most 95% of Minneapolis is on the west side of the river. But there's a little slim in Minneapolis on the east side of the river. It's between Columbia Heights, St. Anthony, and North St. Paul. So it's like a little chunk of Minneapolis there that everyone forgets about. Everyone just knows it as the University of Minnesota campus. But technically, the University of Minnesota campus does not control northeast and southeast Minneapolis, not the whole part, but only like a small chunk of that area. And that side of the river has famous neighborhoods like Dinkytown, where there's all this entertainment and stuff for college students, young people who are just going to school and learning who themselves are, and you know what I mean, and just enjoying their life. So if like you are like not in college or not planning to go to college, northeast and southeast Minneapolis, you want to live in the northern part or the southern part of that neighborhood, of those neighborhoods. You don't want to live in the middle. Because if you live in the middle, you're going to have like crazy college students everywhere. But if you live up like if you live in the southern part of southeast Minneapolis, more towards St. Paul, or if you live in the northeast part of Minneapolis towards Columbia Heights, you get more normal people. But if you like go more towards the 3rd Avenue Bridge and the Hennepin Bridge and the Stone Arch Bridge, that's kind of the area where the college students live. So the further away you get from those 3 bridges, you're going to get more everyday people that are not in college. And the University of Minnesota keeps the northeast and southeast Minneapolis neighborhoods alive, because the college kids, they stay on the U of M campus called Dinkytown. And Dinkytown is kind of boring. It just has like a bunch of brick-looking buildings, because that's where, you know, they expect the kids to live and stay, as they're paying thousands of dollars to go to college to get their 4-year degree that they probably can't use once they're done with school. And then, you know, so then they kind of shove you in these brick like buildings. They're not pretty. And then they have like Chipotle, you know, McDonald's, that kind of stuff, like, and a bunch of fast food restaurants, but there's not really like no grocery stores. There's nowhere to really like, I'm gonna go get food from a grocery store. They unless you count CVS and Walgreens as a grocery store, there's not really a grocery store in Dinkytown. But so if you live in that neighborhood, you have to kind of leave the campus to actually get food. If you go north, you hit the 3rd Avenue Bridge, where there's Lunds and Barley's. A lot of college kids will just shop at Lunds and Barley's, because it's just right off the campus. If you go east towards St. Anthony, once you get off the campus, you get a small Target, And it's not like it's like taking the one in downtown Minneapolis and chopping off the clothes section. They only sell like snacks and pharmaceuticals. So then you have the small Target after you leave the campus when you're going east towards St. Anthony. And if you go south towards St. Paul, you hit fresh thyme. And fresh thyme is also like another grocery store where you can kind of get food. So you have to kind of leave, like if you live in northeast/southeast Minneapolis, you have to kind of leave the college campus of Dinkytown to get actually like real healthy food from a grocery store, unless you want to shop at CVS, Walgreens, and go to the lunch, because it makes sense, because when like you're paying that much for the college is probably assuming that, and you're paying for a meal plan, the college is probably assuming that you're going to the school cafeteria to using your meal plan. They're probably going to assume if you're paying that much for college, you're probably going to want to use the college cafeteria at the college. So that's why Dinkytown, in the middle of the two neighborhoods, probably doesn't have a lot of grocery stores, because they're like, if you're paying this much per year, why would he not just use the one in the cafeteria? So I completely get it. I completely get their thought process on that. I like to go to, like, when you go south of the U of M campus into southeast Minneapolis towards like St. Paul, there's like Shirley's Brewery down there that you can eat at. There's the textile center that college students can spend time at. The textile center, they teach you how to make textiles, and every month they have a sale where artists that make art at the textile center can sell their art to the public. So then the school opens themselves up, and then people can go into the gallery and buy art that the students that go there create. And then you pay like a monthly membership to go to the textile center, just like you would do to go to Costco or Sam's Club. And then when you're at the textile center, there's a big library that can teach you about other forms of art and stuff. So then you go to the textile center, you go to Shirley's, like brewery house, where there's a big like concerts every weekend, and there's good pizza. I love that place. When I go visit my friend Trina, I love going to that place. There's a Chinese buffet right there, and then there's a hotel right next to the post office / buffet right off university, and that hotel has an open bar for everyone to kind of eat at. So what you do is you normally go in the hotel and they ask you, hey, what are you doing? And it's like, oh, I'm going to the bar on top, and they let you. And if there's no server there, you're allowed to bring your own drinks and food. But if the kitchen and the waitress is up there, you can go all the way up to the top of the hotel, and then you can actually eat and drink at the hotel. And it's, my friend Trina took me up there, and it's a beautiful view, because if you look left, you can see Dinkytown and the University of Minnesota. If you look right, you can see the single family home neighborhoods in St. Paul. And then if you look straight, you see Shirley's. So, and you can see, like, when there's like concerts and stuff at Shirley's and you don't want to pay for it, you can go into that. If that hotel bar is open, I don't know what times they close, you can go all the way up there for free and bring your own food and liquor if there's no bartender up there and stuff. And you can see and you can hear the music from Shirley's for free. You can't like see it easily because there's another apartment between you and Shirley's that's like it's not as high as the hotel, but it's not as low as where like you can easily see Shirley's. But you can hear the bands and all that for free, echoing the music through the neighborhood. I like going to that neighborhood because for me, I live in Columbia Heights, so I can take the 10 to Northeast, get off by the 3rd Avenue Bridge next to Lund's, and take the 6, and the 6 ends right in the middle of U of M campus. And then from there, I can walk the 2 blocks to Shirley's. And then, I can go there, listen to music, have alcohol, have pizza, be around people my age, You know what I mean? Because a lot of people my age live around the U of M campus because they work for the University of Minnesota. Because, like, pretend if, like, you clean toilets and you're a janitor at the University of Minnesota, you want to live near your work. So then you kind of move into southeast Minneapolis between Dinkytown and St. Paul, or you move into northeast Minneapolis between Dinkytown and Columbia Heights. Or you move into the east part of the neighborhood between Dinkytown and St. Anthony. So then you kind of like live around the campus. That's why the grocery stores, there's major grocery stores out right off campus. It's because it's all the people my age, they're 27 to 65. 65 is not my age, but I'm saying is most young people, they don't have a house or they don't have anything. So most people that don't have a house yet or don't have a condo, don't have the money that work for the University of Minnesota or work for one of the restaurants on the University of Minnesota campus. You know what I mean? They can be like, cool, I'm a 10-minute to 15-minute bus ride or a half an hour walk from work. So then, and then they can actually work there. And it takes a lot of manpower to keep Dinkytown / University of Minnesota going. And people don't notice that. So like southeast Minneapolis and northeast Minneapolis, there's a lot of people who live there that work for the U of M / Dinkytown. That's in between northeast Minneapolis and southeast Minneapolis. And without those workers, that college would just fall apart. But if people stop attending the University of Minnesota, it will make those people get laid off, and then the whole area falls apart. So that's why the University of Minnesota, they promote themselves in Europe, Africa, Asia, because we want people to come here, blow all their life savings, and go into debt, spending money, and then when they're here, they'll spend money on restaurants and stuff, keeping our part of Minneapolis alive. I love that part of Minneapolis. That's why I chose Columbia Heights, because I can access Northeast in a 10-minute bus ride, right on the 10, or 15 minutes if I take the 11. That goes from Columbia Heights through Northeast, through downtown. The 11 ends all the way in southwest Minneapolis. The 11 bus ends in Uptown. So if I want to, I can really go from Columbia Heights on the 11 all the way to Uptown. So that's why I also chose this area, because I can just be on one bus, go all the way to Uptown. So, and I can shop, and then I can go when I'm up in town, I can hop on a different bus to go to Edina or St. Louis Park, and I can go shop down there. So if I really wanted to. It's a long bus ride, but I can shop down there if I want to. And then, I can still access all the fun, young, hip people things in northeast Minneapolis without paying, because Columbia Heights is cheaper because it's an older suburb of Minneapolis since St. Paul. So the rents are more cheaper and affordable, so I can live here and still have access to all the cool stuff in northeast Minneapolis. Like the major grocery stores and the bars, the restaurants, the things that young people like to do. So northeast and southeast Minneapolis are also good neighborhoods that visually impaired people and other disabled people should look at, because like northeast Minneapolis and southeast Minneapolis, they have some older apartments there that they'll charge you between $750 to $1,200 a month. But the more like with the other neighborhoods, a lot of those cheaper apartment buildings do not have parking access. So then if you want parking access, you have to go to a company that provides parking in a ramp, and you have to pay them a monthly fee to park there, every day of the month. But if you're visually impaired like me and you don't have a car, in northeast Minneapolis and southeast Minneapolis, you can get a place as low as like $750 a month. And then, it won't come with a microwave. You won't have a washer and dryer, and you have to share a community washer and dryer. But, at least having a community washer and dryer is still better than have to go to laundromat for all, your laundry. And the reason why laundromats still exist in Minneapolis and St. Paul is because some units for $7.50 a month, some buildings for $7.50 a month, they don't even have a laundry room for people to share. Because when I was looking in Southeast Minneapolis, there's some units that were charging like $8.50 a month. They didn't come with a microwave, and they did not come with an in-unit washer and dryer. And they didn't even have a community laundry room. So you're paying $7.50 to $8.50 a month, and you still have to go to the laundry room, a laundromat. You still have to go to the laundromat to do your own laundry because they don't even have a community laundry room. Like for me, I believe, in my opinion, that the city of Minneapolis should have no laundromats anymore because every building should have some. If you don't have a washer and dryer in every room, it should at least have a little community room where people in that building can go do all their laundry in one spot without needing to go to the laundromat. But I'm not a property owner. I don't own the buildings, so I can't, and I'm not the mayor of Minneapolis, so I can't make that change. But for now, the reason why Minneapolis has so many laundromats is because some of the cheap buildings between the $650 to $950 range, you're paying for the studio apartment or one bedroom, and the building doesn't even have a place for you to do your laundry. So then you have to go to a laundromat, and then you have to pay $5 a load to do your laundry at some laundromat. When I lived in downtown Minneapolis, my LaSalle Plaza building, everyone got their own washer and dryer, but it was a 2-in-1. And it fucking sucked, the 2-in-1, because if you wanted to dry your clothes, you couldn't just dry your clothes. Because what happens is a 2-in-1, it takes 3 hours to wash your clothes, and then it takes 3 hours to dry your clothes, because it cleans your clothes environmentally friendly, and when you're cleaning your clothes environmentally and friendly, it takes fucking forever. So when it pretend if I got my towel wet because I spilled a drink on the floor, right? I can't just water in the floor. I can't just put in my dryer machine and hit dry and have it done in 10 minutes. Nope, it will take 6 hours for that thing to clean because I have to wash it, it has to dry it. So when I lived in LaSalle Plaza Apartments, I just hung, if it wasn't smell, I just washed things by hand and just hung it on my shower curtain to dry. Or what I would do is pretend if I was working at the Mall of America, I got home and I have 6 hours between my both shifts, I will throw my work clothes in right away and just do a load of laundry because my 2-in-1 washer and dryer was only big enough to do one load. So sometimes when I had like 2 or 3 days off in a row and I forgot to do like my laundry, I would have to go to the laundromat in Southwest Minneapolis called Giant Wash Laundromat. And I would go to it's in the Whittier neighborhood. The Whittier neighborhood is between downtown Minneapolis and uptown. So I would go to Giant's Laundromat, or it's like the Giant Laundromat. I think it's called Giant's Laundromat. So then I would walk to Giant's Laundromat, and I would because downtown Minneapolis doesn't have any laundromats. So you have to go to North, or you have to go to South Minneapolis. About only 10-minute bus ride to 15-minute bus ride. So then what I do is I bought myself a shopping cart from off Amazon, and I would load my laundry into my shopping cart, and then I would hop on the bus, or a walk, and then I'll do my laundry at the laundromat and stuff, and then I'll put my clean laundry back into the shopping cart because I put my laundry in a garbage bag, and then I would like put it in my shopping cart so it wouldn't get dirty. And then I would push my shopping cart with laundry right back on the bus, and then I would head right back to downtown. So when like you're picking for an apartment, you have to think about price and what features come with that price. I'm going to say that I love Columbia Heights and I love living with my parents because my parents have a washer and dryer. I have like a Family Dollar right outside not right outside, but 2 blocks down. I love living here in Columbia Heights. I wish all disabled people could. But back to the topic. And then, the busing also in Northeast and Southeast Minneapolis is pretty good because I have access to the 10 that goes through it. I have access to 11 that goes through it. And if you're in Southeast Minneapolis, you have the Green Line train, and you have the 6 bus that will take you from the U of M campus through downtown Minneapolis, all the way to the Southdale Mall in Edina. Yes. So if like you live in, for example, the Uptown neighborhood, you can hop on the 6 bus, go all the way to the University of Minnesota in one direction, or go all the way to Edina in the other direction. The Southdale Mall in Edina. That's why I'm saying Uptown is a good neighborhood, because on the same bus, you can get all the way to the U of M. And there's another bus that goes from St. Louis to Shopping Mall in St. Louis Park that goes all the way. It doesn't go to the U of M, but it goes from St. Louis to Shopping Mall in St. Louis Park through the Uptown neighborhood. And then it goes through downtown, and it takes you into Northeast Minneapolis, where you can get off and then hop on the 6 bus or the Green Line train to go to U of M. So that's why I'm saying Uptown was my favorite neighborhood, because you can pretty much get everywhere you need to go from that neighborhood. And if I would just go shopping, if I lived in Uptown, I would just go shopping in Edina, Southdale Mall, Edina, or the shopping center in St. Louis Park, because it would just be way easier and way more convenient. And then, for example, if you live in Northeast, you can hop on the 10 bus if like you don't want to shop at Lunds and Barley's, and you can take the 10 bus all the way out to Fridley, and you can go shopping at the Fridley Aldi's, you can go shopping at the Fridley Target, or you can go shopping at the Fridley Sam's Club, in the Fridley Walmart. Load up your shopping cart with groceries and take the 10 bus all the way back to Northeast Minneapolis. Get off the bus, and then and go home. So, and if like you live in Southeast Minneapolis, you can hop on the Green Line train if you don't want to shop at Thresheim, and you can take that Green Line train all the way into Northern St. Paul, and you can shop at the Menards on the Green Line train, and then like you go down 2 or 3 more blocks on the train. There's also like the big soccer stadium, and next to the soccer stadium, there's a big massive Cub Foods and a big massive Target, and then there's another massive store that's there, but I forgot what it was. And then you keep going down that train, and then you hit like downtown St. Paul that also has like grocery stores or whatever. So that neighborhood was perfect, was just perfect. I loved it. I didn't mind it. But the only reason why I didn't move there with my parents is because the Northeast Minneapolis neighborhood and the Southeast Minneapolis neighborhood, for what we paid $180,000 here for what we got, you had paid $880,000 there. So for 8 times the price, just moving if I moved 15 minutes more south, that's how much you'd be paying. Just because I moved 15 minutes north, I'm getting a way reduced in price for what me and my mom got for where we live. And then if I want to go to that area, I just hop on the 10, get off in Northeast by Lunds and Barley's, right on the 3rd Avenue Bridge, where the 10 and 6 meet. Hop on the 6. Boom! I'm on the U of M campus / Southeast Minneapolis. Beautiful neighborhood, beautiful. A lot of things to do. I can see all my friends that live down there. I can access when I go down the 6th line, I can easily get to on the U of M. We're gonna hop on the Green Line train, and I can take that Green Line train all the way to State Services for the Blind's headquarters next to the Raymond station on the Green Line. So then if I really need to get to State Services for the Blind, my organization I go through, the workforce center I go through, I can get there. easily. It takes time, but I can easily get there. So northeast and southeast Minneapolis are pretty good to live. Another good neighborhood in Minneapolis, this one is in southeast Minneapolis. So it's along the Mississippi River. And it's called the Minnehaha Falls neighborhood. But the issue with the Minnehaha Falls neighborhood is there's not a lot of apartments there. There's not a lot of apartments there that disabled people can really afford, because a lot of the apartments in the Minnehaha neighborhoods are like $2,000, $3,000 a month to live there. Because Minnehaha Falls it's the Minnehaha Falls neighborhood. It's like along the Mississippi River on the east side, along Bloomington on the south, and along Highway 55 on the west. So it's kind of has, so that neighborhood's so expensive because if you go 10 minutes north, you're in downtown St. Paul. You go 10 minutes south, you're in downtown Bloomington by the Mall of America. If you go 10 minutes east, you're in downtown St. Paul. So, and then the Minnehaha Falls neighborhood, it's a giant park along the Mississippi River. And then everyone wants to live in high-end condos along the Mississippi River and along a park. And then there's massive mansions over there. So there's massive mansions because everyone wants to live along the park in the Mississippi River. And there's massive condos, massive condo buildings that are super expensive to live in. So if you're undisabled and your disability living on Social Security by yourself, that's going to be a very hard neighborhood to get into. But once in a while, they do have 1 or 2 Section 8 housing there that if you can get a voucher that you could get in. But still, if something happened to that voucher, and you'll be short on your rent. So that's why I said it's better for you go to a place that's $750 a month in rent, and you'd be able to use your Social Security. So if anything happens to your housing voucher, you're going to be fine because you still have enough of your Social Security where you can pay the rent yourself. But I do like the Minnehaha Falls neighborhood. If I won the lottery, I'm kind of torn. I might go back to Maple Grove, buy a condo in Maple Grove, and live out there. Or I might move to the Minnehaha Falls neighborhood. Or I might move to Edina or St. Louis Park. If I won the lottery, those are the neighborhoods I'll live. Because if I won the lottery, I wouldn't have to take public transportation anywhere. I wouldn't have to work. I can just I can buy myself a cheap condo in those cities. And just and then put my money into savings and just, volunteer maybe once in a while, take Metro Mobility places where I want to go and just spread out my money. But because I'm young and I'm 27, I need to work. I need to live on public transportation that's reliable. That's why I chose living in town still on that 10 bus, because I still get my suburban dream and I still get public transportation so I can be a productive member of society. But I'm going to say I don't mind Metro Mobility. If you heard that comment I only want to take Metro, I don't want to take Metro Mobility all the time. It's not like a diss to you. Metro Mobility is unreliable. If you don't live in an ADA zone, they can just we're not picking you up. And then you're screwed because you have to go to work. And if you don't go to work, you're going to get fired, and then you're going to lose your money. So that's why I'm saying if you're living in a suburb and rely on Metro Mobility, you have to live in an ADA zone, like Robbinsdale, Columbia Heights, where I live, Fridley, Blaine, Crystal, New Hope, and Bloomington. Because if you don't live in an ADA zone and you're going to rely on taking Metro Mobility, you're screwed. Because my friend Paul is in Champlin, and he works in Maple Grove, and he sometimes tries to get to work, And because Champlin's not an ADA zone and Maple Grove's not an ADA zone, sometimes they say, nope, we're not taking you. And they call you the day before when you're not going into an ADA zone or you don't live in an ADA zone. They'll call me the day before like, oh, sorry, we can't take you. And then Paul has to call his work and say, I can't get to work tomorrow because my ride won't take me to work. And then he gets in trouble by his boss because his boss last minute has to find a replacement for him because he can't go into work. And then if he does that so many times, you'll get fired by your boss because you don't have reliable public transportation. So that's why when I made sure when I moved to a place and my mom chose a place, I chose a place in a neighborhood I liked. And I chose a place that I could afford with my mom if we split the bills evenly, like what we're doing. And then I chose a place where I can have my public transportation where I can go where I need to go. So as a disabled person, you have to sacrifice the suburban lifestyle fantasy if you want to live by yourself and be independent and live in town. But if you're blind or visually impaired, you can't see town anyways because when you're leaving your unit, you can't see the grass, you can't see the trees, you can't see the birds. You know what I mean? So if you're visually impaired or blind and you live in a concrete jungle, it's not going to bother you much because you can't see the concrete jungle. You can only hear it. But if you have some sight, living in a concrete jungle can be kind of hard. In places that are more affordable because you don't see the trees, you don't see the grass, you don't see, and it's not as like human level comfort, but if you're completely blind, and you can't see the concrete jungle around you, it doesn't bother you so much. But the more vision you have and the more you can see around you, it's kind of hard, and then you want to say, oh, I wish I can live in the suburbs. I wish I can live in the suburbs. I wish I can live in the suburbs. Oh, I wish I can live in the suburbs. But you're disabled. If you want to live independently and have a job and have a career, and you can't do that because if you live too far in the suburbs like Maple Grove, Plymouth, Wayzata, like those Rogers, like those cities are too far on the suburbs. You're not going to have good public transportation and you have to rely on Metro Mobility. And because those areas are not ADA zones, Metro Mobility can just call you the day before, I'm not taking you to work. And how do you explain that to your boss when you're limited income saying, hey, I can't go to work tomorrow because I can't afford an Uber to get to work. And Metro Mobility says, no, they're not taking me. Your boss would be pissed. They might fire you over the phone. They might lay you off over the phone, and then you're screwed. So that's why if you're going to live in the suburbs, you need an area that's ADA zone where if you're not going to rely on the city bus like me, you have to make sure that it's a Metro Mobility zone. Well, guys, those are my favorites. Neighborhoods in Minneapolis. I hope you have a good day. Bye-bye.